I
Thank you,
want to
sir.
toast.
This is Evan getting his glass.
I want
Okay.
to toast my boy Ev. We got to toast you up. It's your birthday, so we definitely got to toast you up, man. And I want to start it off, man. Ev, you my dude. We met in 2011. We met at church, but we forged our friendship on the court. So it's so fitting I get to toast you on this podcast, man. And this friendship of ours has really blossomed to something that's just a blessing. I don't know if you guys have had this before when you meet somebody and you just know that they're going to be in your life forever. And you're that guy, man. You've been a brother, a friend, a confidant, a mentor. You've worn so many hats in my life, man. And I really do appreciate you. And I believe that we should give each other our flowers when we're here, man. And I really do appreciate everything that you've done for me, just off the strength of just knowing me, off the strength of just being a great guy, man. And I thought that we here on the 3-on-3 podcast, at the least, we had to toast you and celebrate you, bro, on your upcoming birthday. I pray that the Lord continues to bless you richly. He has already got your cup overflowing, but I pray that he continues to bless you richly, man. And I just want to let you know that above all, if nothing else, man, you have had a significant impact on my life, on the life of my wife. And I appreciate you, man. And I thank you for all that you've done. So I'm going to raise my cup right now. We're going to raise our cups, and anybody can share a word after me as well, too. But we're going to take a toast to my man, my brethren for life, brother, Evan Butler Sands, man. Thank you, sir.
I haven't known you for too long, but what I could see is that you're a great father, you're a great friend, and you're a great human being. You could be a little passive aggressive, but I like that about you. So, so here's a toast to you, my brother. Here's
no denial there. No denial.
Toast. Our first interactions were getting ready for the wedding. You know what I mean? And it's been a blessing to meet you. Yeah, if you want to Hans Peoples, man, you one of mine. So it's been a pleasure to be on this journey with all of you, but in particular, we're celebrating you, man. So big up to you on your day. We're not going to ask you how many candles you're blowing out on Tuesday, but and then we just might either take it easy on you or really dump it on you today, bro. So we'll see, man. But this is your episode. Shout out to you, man. Flex bombs for my boy.
Listen, man, listen, y'all almost tripped me up between my wife busting in with a glass and then y'all going.
I know she kept me like,
listen, I didn't know what was going on.
I'm going to shout her out here, and I'm going to shout her out again on the show. To my sister, my Haitian sister. Hey, Messy, Lucy. Messy. Thank you, Lucy. Appreciate you. My sister, man, always holds us down as well. She's another one, man. These two, I'm telling you, man. Butler Sands, bro.
I thought she was gonna come in with the beer bong, just straight up.
So
listen.
Yeah, she should have hit him with that. Hit him with the drop top. Hit him with the drop top.
Just gain ice. Also, you just sit down at your station, but there's a Smirnoff Ice right there. You just gotta take me.
Yo, what have been the wildest thing?
I'm gonna put her out real quick because I love the crown. The crown is out of reach. It's too high. So
it's too high.
That's why we got the wine.
Got you.
I'm hiding the crown from myself. So
all right, well, to the shadows I go. I'll see y'all.
Right.
It's good seeing you, sir.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
This episode about to be lit, boy.
I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness.
Welcome to the... Welcome to the 3-on-3 podcast, guys. I am your host, Hans Luador, here with my boys, Lou and Ev. here to give you another great episode into the NBA. In the backgrounds, lurking in the shadows like a creeper, we have our pod Mamba, and he'll give you his takes here and there as well on the show. Today's lineup, what's going on with the Warriors? Cali, man. These Cali teams, man. They wilding out here.
So Cal's gonna be like, hey, yo, that's the Bay. That's not us. That's the Bay.
Yep. It's still Cali, though. Still Cali. What's going on with the
when
Warriors?
When they want to claim them.
Right. Then we got Chicago, Zach Lavine, in the midst of this swirling of trade rumors. And
that's your account, Lou.
Yes, Lou's
We just want to get
What's
back here. We just want to get back here, baby. We just want to get back here. We'll figure it out.
And then, as always, we're going to recap what's going on with the NBA, what we saw during our in-season tournament and everything else. But first and foremost, guys, the Warriors, they're the latest California team to be on a losing streak. Steph Curry got injured. I know we have all seen and have heard via social media the headlock, the MMA headlock that Draymond Green put Rudy Gobert in. So, Evan, what's going on with these Warriors, man? What's up with them, bro?
Let's talk about them. First off, a funny story. So I got a friend, good friend of mine, high school friend, big time Warriors fan. When the Warriors were 6-3, he sends into our group chat, how about those Warriors, huh? Does it look like we're missing Jordan Poole? 6-3, you see us. Since then, 5 straight losses. Haven't heard anything about the Warriors since then. He listens to the show, so I won't put his name out. But it's been.
I'll put him out there, man. I know who you're talking about. Too.
I won't do that to my guy. You know who I'm talking about, though.
Big Steph Curry fan, man.
It's been a funny. Yeah, it's been a quiet 7 to 10 days from my guy. But he'll hear this and laugh. But yeah, like you said, Steph gets hurt and then returns. We had multiple Draymond instances. We left out talking about the retroactive technical against Donovan Mitchell in the Cavaliers game last week. Didn't talk about it last week. Then he comes out and ups the ante, wants to put Rudy Gobert in $1 million dream. So, just a day in the life of Draymond Green. What I want to do though, I could go on with all the different issues, but basketball teams, they're like a family. Especially when the Warriors has been together for a long time. Draymond, I think we all agree he's acting like a dysfunctional family member. Would we agree with that?
Man, he's acting like the drunk uncle. The cousin that can never get right.
Absolutely. So what I want to do is diagnose this dysfunctional family member. We're fortunate to have our very own MFT, marriage family therapist, the sports psychologist himself, Hans Luador. I'm going to toss it back to you first, Hans. What concerns you most about this Draymond dynamic to the overall team psyche?
All right. Thank you. Shouting out my credentials out there. Shout out to the fellow MFTs out there. You're white. Well, listen, she's the LSW. My bad. So listen, what concerns me is this. We all have on this podcast, which is lovely. We've all have been a part of a team. We've all have played in a team sport at one point or another. And to Evan's point, I love the metaphor. It is a family. It legit is a family. If you've ever been on a great team, at one point or another, your coach has preached the ideology of family, brotherhood, looking out for each other on and off the field, court, whatever your field of play is. What concerns me about Draymond is he's still acting like he's in survival mode. Bear with me for a second. So those of African-American descent or other minorities may be familiar with what survival mode is. So for survival mode is basically where you're out here trying to do the best that you can with what you've got. And what that sometimes means is you have to neglect other things that are important in your life, but there's a hierarchy of needs. Hierarchy of needs are typically clothing, food, and shelter, right? Those are the hierarchy of needs. So when you're in survival mode, you're just worried about clothing, food, and shelter. So you'll do whatever you need to do to make sure you get clothing, food, and shelter. Draymond Green, if you know anything about his history, which Ev knows more because he follows college basketball more, and Lou does as well too, more than I do, I'll say, is that he has the underrated story. And Draymond found out early on that he was always and forever going to be the underdog. So in his head, he has forever licensed himself as always being in survival mode. Now, that definitely concerns me because at the end of the day, he has not realized he has progressed and accomplished so much so in his career and as a team with the Golden State Warriors, he doesn't need to be in survival mode. And also, which I appreciate, when we're in survival mode, as we know, you acquire certain skill sets that allow you to succeed, right? We're Jay-Z fans here, right?
Absolutely.
One would argue that Jay-Z would not get to where he's at if he did not acquire certain business acumens from selling drugs in the hood, right? He did that out of survival mode.
So we wouldn't have to
right?
go through that.
Exactly. Bars.
I like that
Draymond figured early on, 9 out of 10 people are not going to throw a punch when you confront them. He figured that out.
Cat.
Well, I think that was easy to know.
He figured that out early on. So, therefore, if I'm already an undersized player and I am gifted in the defensive area, so that's what got him to where he's at, right? I can just put on this bravado that I learned in my survival mode to intimidate people, and it'll get me the results that I needed. What concerns me about Draymond is he has not realized that, hey, guys, we're up out the hood. We're no longer in the streets. We're no longer in those conditions. We're a championship caliber, right? We need to switch our frame of thinking. We need to acquire a different set of skills to get us to the next level, which other people have done. And that's what concerns me about Draymond. Draymond has not yet made that switch on the court to realize, like, you know what? I am valuable in this team, and I need to acquire other skills so I can help my team elevate. And what I think that's rooted in, and I could be wrong, I haven't sat down with him. He's not on my couch. I haven't invoiced him anything yet, but I'm more than willing to.
Yet.
I feel like that's based on some insecurities. Because if I go out and try to excel and push myself in other areas that I'm not gifted in, I could fail. And if I fail, I won't be accepted as part of this family. So I have to secure my place in this family by being the disruptor, right? What's the saying, guys? The squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Gets the grease, yep.
And that's what troubles me about Draymond. And at the end of the day, we've seen this with players before in the league. The league is ruthless enough to where they will cut off that squeaky wheel rather than give it the oil. And it's very disheartening because at the end of the day, I admire his fire, his tenacity, his drive, but I think it will ultimately be to the detriment of the team if he does not get it under wraps. So that's my assessment on Draymond Green.
Let me say what I heard and what's interesting about what you said. So what I heard is somebody that's almost self-destructive as a self-fulfilling prophecy out of their insecurity. And then when I look at the last 14 months of his, one, you have the Jordan Poole incident. Then I'm fast forward and you have the Sabonis stomp in the playoffs. Then I'm fast forward and you have the issue with Rudy Gobert here this past week. Well, outside of the Gobert issue, what was going on in the backdrop of all of that? Draymond didn't have a contract yet. There was a lot of discussion on, is he going to stay with the Warriors? Are the Warriors going to pay him? Is he still worth that money? Would he be going to another team? So that kind of feeds into what you were saying about the whole still having to prove, still not believing that I'm worth it, right? Or that I'm good enough, because my place here is in doubt. And then even when he does end up getting the contract, okay, you've licensed him to be able to continue acting the way he's been acting because he has the contract now, but it still doesn't get rid of what he went through for the year, that all that buildup of am I worth it? Am I deserving? Am I going to get my seat at the table? So it's interesting that it's enlightening that you put it in that way.
Look, man, Ev, I'm sorry to cut you off, bro, but like, yo, this is all eloquent. This is all great. I mean, I think we're talking too chill in terms of like, oh, well, Draymond, I get the psychological aspect of it, but let's just be clear. Straight playing, he's not the Splash Brothers was Steph and Clay. Draymond was a great piece, especially early on in his youth. As Draymond, with age, with Father Time coming, his skill in terms of his impact has decreased, his antics has increased, right? So where do I solidify myself on this team? How do I still make noise, right? With Poole was already the future. If I'm Draymond, that's exactly who I'm trying to eliminate, because when it comes to contracts, who are they going to keep between me and him? If I don't have Steph and others lobbying for me, of course, this is the NBA. This is where any sports team, you're going to err on the side of youth, right? You can train up that youth. You can use that skill set to help build your team, bolster your team for the future. Draymond is more of a detriment to his team than a help, right? Yes, we get it. There's always a culture guy, right, on the team. Kevin Garnett's, Udonis Haslam's, and so on and so forth. Like, these guys are great. But, Hans, I'm going to put it like this. Do you feel like that Draymond is effective as Rashid in the space of these antics? Rashid, when you look at Rashid in terms of somebody who was known for a lot of technical fouls, a lot of ejections, and so on, how would you
Rasheed Wallace?
Yeah, Rasheed Wallace. Speaking of our Blazers resident, the Blazer resident,
the great
expert,
Blazer.
the great. But I'm talking about you as our Blazer resident expert.
Yes.
Talking about Rashid. Hey, look. You know I'm a big fan of that 01 team, those bad boys. When you compare his two guys, I look at Rashid, I look at Rodman, especially when in the discussion of when Rodman was saying, like, Draymond, you wouldn't even be able to hold my jockstrap, which I agree with, because he was able to not only just be the guy who was the cultural enforcer of the team, but in terms of his efficacy on that Bulls team, what significant, right? What he was able to do, how he was able to get into other players' heads without losing his cool and becoming somebody who's a detriment to his team. But Hanji, just tossing it to you, when you look at somebody like Rasheed Wallace versus Draymond Green, how would you compare those two guys who have been talked about in similar lights, and what does that mean for Draymond now and moving forward?
So here's what I'll say. There's no comparison because, okay, there is some comparison in terms of them losing their temper. I think actually Rasheed was more hot-tempered than Draymond.
Agreed.
If we're looking at it.
Agreed.
Rasheed is definitely more hot-tempered than Draymond. But what I will give credit for Rasheed for having is he had the wherewithal to understand his value in the system of the family and on the team, and how to basically uplift the team with his skill set. And although his antics can sometimes be a distraction, they were never really to be
to the detriment.
Now,
he wasn't putting his hands on people.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah, I'm about to say
Divox.
Yep.
So, he did do that.
He put the mitts on boy. He put the mitts on boy.
Sabonis. Sorry. He pushed Sabonis.
Oh, yeah, it was Sabonis. Yeah.
It was Sabonis. But that's where I would give it. And also, too, Rasheed, when it came to his game, he developed his game in different areas. The only development I've seen in Draymond is
his mouth.
Him
pushing
the ball, right?
Yeah.
So him pushing the ball and distributing a little more during the game.
He was always an assist guy for that
right,
team.
but in the system they incorporated more and gave him that. So like you can see like that development of Draymond. But other than that, he hasn't. Yeah. That's what I struggle with the Draymond. Because when you're a part of a family, right? Let's say we're all in business together. You feel me? And we're doing this. We each have a part in the business and getting this well-oiled machine going. We have to find our place. And what bothers me with Draymond, and that this is maybe the therapist part of me, is this. His insecurity of being rejected, he can't get rid of that. So I'm going to control my destiny. I'm going to go out on my terms. I'm going to make the noise. I'm going to do what I need to do, because at the end of the day, if I just stay back and continue to just be the defensive guy, I'm going to fall into the shadows. You're going to forget about me, and you're going to end up screwing me.
See, but the thing is, he wasn't just known for his defense, though. He was known as an integral part of the offense early on. It's just that has diminished.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. You're looking at somebody who wants to be acknowledged for the greatness.
And but this is
he's not going to get that.
And I think that it's two things. I think it's the insecurity, but also I think he's standing on the fact of that the Warriors have had all the success that they've had. Had they not won as much as they had, I don't think Draymond would be acting like this. Draymond is standing on the fact that I'm a 4-time champion and I'm integral to this team. I was here for all of this. I'm one of the originals in terms of what built to get us here, right? But I can act like these to these new guys and try to bully these guys because I'm Draymond, regardless if that's rooted in the insecurity or not. That's what he's now asserting out.
That was his bravado all the time, regardless of the wins.
So here's my question to both of you on that. Here's my question to both of you on that. From a Warrior standpoint, what do you do when the talent is no longer worth the headache?
Get rid of them.
Business perspective, you get rid of them. You move on.
So from that standpoint,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say so from that standpoint, you go past Draymond, you got to look at Klay Thompson as well. You know, we in our guards preview, we had him ranked as the 19th guard in the league. Because he wasn't this old Klay, right? And we've seen the start of this season struggles with shot creation even more. He's not the same defender. He's averaging 14 points a game, 33% from three. He has a net rating of -1. It's the first time he's had a negative net rating since 2011. So you have, we hold up these pillars of kind of their big three. You got the Splash Brothers and Draymond. They're the OGs. They're the ones that have carried this along. If you're the Warriors or if you're Steph, what do you do if the guys that have been the guys all this time clearly aren't the guys anymore?
You know what? I'm going to give you guys a rap analogy. And I think
I like rap.
I think it at worst loosely gives us an idea of where all three of these guys are, and in terms of personality as well. I look at Steph, Klay, and Draymond like Rockefeller, early Rockefeller, Dame, Hove, and Biggs. Obviously, with Jay being the comparison to Steph would be this, be our Steph in this analogy. Klay would be Biggs, and without question, Draymond would be our man Dame.
I like where this is going.
Look what Dame had. Dame, though he was great, what he did in terms of, again, the culture, bringing it together, pushing these guys for more and so on and so forth. Again, being the culture person, right? Being the person that's not hesitant to be vocal, to fight for their team and so on and so forth. At some point, he did it to his detriment, and he ended up fracturing what was a very successful team, having issues trying to do this, that, and third in the background, and look how it ended up. I think we're seeing the same thing with what was the big three of the Warriors. Steph is your staple. He's always going to be a staple because of how integral Klay was in all of these wins as well as a Splash Brother. He is also one of your staples. So you're going to have some leniency on a guy like Klay and somebody like Klay who also understands where he is right now in terms of his career, understands, hey, look, I'm not that same guy. I'm going to have to take a back seat and look to be a little bit less. Draymond hasn't grasped that. He hasn't been able to do that, regardless if it's his insecurity or not. And we're going to continue to see Draymond act like this way until either A, is out the league or is gone from the Warriors.
There's no better final thought than Draymond Green is the Dame Dash of the Warriors. So I have nothing more to add to it.
I think on that note, we'll end with the state of the Warriors right there. We'll be watching to see how they improve or implode as the season goes on. But Lou, you ended it. We're going to ask you to continue it with our thought. We're going to shift gears real quick from the West Coast to the Midwest to Chi-Town.
Windy City.
Like you said, the Windy City, Chicago Bulls. In this past week, Zach Lavine has been in the center of this whirlwind of trade rumors. He has been in the forefront of what people believe to be his final season with the Bulls. There are many, many different theories out there on what the Bulls should do, if they should blow it up, if they should trade for pieces. Before we dive deep into that, we want to sit here and hear from our resident Bulls fan, our resident Bulls expert who has the NBA Finals Chicago Bulls hat on right now, repping his squad.
Y'all remember. Squad up.
You know. So Lou, let me throw it to you, sir. You ended with Draymond. Let's get this Bull train going, man. What are your thoughts on the Zach Lavine rumor mill going on right now in the state of the Chicago Bulls?
I mean, look, if Bulls fans are going to be real, we know that this conversation isn't something that should be a surprise for us at all. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked. You know, we thought it was going to work when we had the team with Lonzo, with trading, having Lonzo, Caruso, Lavine, DJJ, Kobe, we're drafting Kobe, all these things, man, it was great, riddled with injury. So, I mean, we're now, and then bringing in DeRozan and thinking, hey, we could do this, bringing in Vooch as well. The experiment hasn't worked. They haven't gelled and brought the success that we're looking for. And I mean, I understand. And Lavine is a mid, I would say in his mid of his career, you know, you're looking at what's next. DeRozan really is on the back end. You have young guys like Kobe that are still very fresh. Caruso still fairly early into his career. Vooch, another guy was like DeRozan, who's going towards their back end. It's time for the Bulls to really seriously consider blowing this up and rebuilding. So we've known that this was on the horizon, unless we had a turnaround in terms of our season last season and really made some noise. You know, we've fallen short. So Lavine saying that he's open, and not only that, it seems that it's been mutual based on the reports. Us as the Bulls and Lavine, when we come into the table and saying we're opening to the trade talks. And but if Lavine is traded, it won't just be him, right? We're definitely gonna look to blow this whole thing up. But Lavine being the face of our team, our franchise player, it's tough. It's tough, you know, and we look at where does he go based on the needs that we have. And if we're going to blow this up, we're going to look for the best package possible, which I think at this point, especially because we've suffered for not having picks. With the Lonzo trade, we got hit with tampering, so we missed out. Also in our other trades, we missed out on not being able to have any draft picks. So next year will be our first year being able to draft. So draft picks are a big piece of capital that we'll be looking for if we're going to be moving Zach Lavine. So teams that have that will be looking to target those types of teams. And also, you know, I mean, Lavine is, or at least his team has put a soft of which teams are his preference in Miami, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and, you know, saying that the Knicks aren't a suitable destination for himself. So, you know, like, I mean, bringing that all together. And I mean, I understand, you know, I think
shots fired.
Oh no, not
shots either. Mutual disinterest.
No shots fired at all. You know what I mean? But I also think it's like, you know, what do the Knicks have that they could provide to us that would make sense for us to build around? So yeah, I mean, this is I anticipate that if it's gonna be done before the month is out, I mean, before Christmas, we're gonna see a move.
So
if it's gonna happen.
So So looking at this roster, Evan, you know, they do have some great pieces. What struck out to me in this initial swirling of Zach Lavine and everything is, why was DeMar DeRozan pushed to the side? Why is DeMar DeRozan not the centerpiece of this trade rumor? Or why is Zach Lavine being thrusted in the forefront? Are they both not of value? Are they both not great players? Do they both not put up numbers? So that to me struck out. That was the first thing I thought about. Like, okay, just Lavine, DeRozan's not up there too?
Well, depending on the rumor mill that you tap into, the Bulls, I've read in some places that the Bulls still want to extend DeRozan. So it depends on, you know, it depends on who you believe. But if they want to do that, that kind of concerns me. I interested in Lou's take on it, but it kind of concerns me because that doesn't sound like complete blow it up. That sounds like you still want to attempt to toe the line. And I don't think that you can with this roster. I looked it up just to see. I mean, they're 29th in points scored, 25th in rebounds, 29th in assists in the league. You brought in 3 offensive players, and your offense is at the bottom of the league. So you're not getting what you paid for with these players. Why would you want to keep on? But that's where some of the rumor mill is saying that they want to keep DeRozan.
Yeah, that's been in conversation. I mean, you know, when you look at us like, okay, do we want to have some veteran presence, right? Do we keep one guy? I mean, I don't see it. I mean, there's some conversations in which not just yes, Lavine has been tied to rumors of being traded to Miami, but so has DeRozan. I've seen some reports of DeRozan being somebody that might end up, if Lavine ends up going to LA, looking to move DeRozan to a team like Miami. It's a bunch of trade scenarios.
We good over here with Lavine. We don't need.
Wow, that's the Pod Mamba saying we don't need it. We don't need it.
Look, man, hey, bro, look, I'm gonna tell you. Well, we know that this will likely not happen, but one of the trade scenarios was get Lavine and your boy Caruso. You know what I mean? Lavine and Caruso, and we would get D'Lo, Rui, Torian, Jalen Hood, and then the 2029 first round pick.
Absolutely.
You know, do I think that's Steve?
The best we could do is Gabe Vincent, a couple second rounders for Caruso, and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's I mean, I know you would love to have Caruso back for sure. You know what I mean? But you know, I hope that never happens. But that's besides the point. But yeah, no, I've seen I've seen another one where Zach Lavine, Caruso, you know, for D'Lo, Torian Prince, Gabe Vincent, and then a first round pick. You know, it's a bunch of these. I've seen another one with the Heat, Zach Lavine, Dalen Terry for Tyler Hero.
Don't mention the Miami Heat. Don't mention Miami Heat. I'm tired of listening about them being in these trade talks and then just offering Tyler Hero on a first round pick every single time.
So, Ev,
go for it.
And I know you have your own thoughts. But here's my thing, man, because I know you do a great job of breaking this down. For me, initially speaking, I empathize with my boy Lou. Do you really have to blow it up? But then I also think about the competition in the East as well, too. If you don't blow it up, you're then settling for what? To be an 8th seed? To be a play-in seed? You know, like
what we were last year.
For? Exactly. So why not blow it up to get, you know, to retool, figure out your new direction? But to what extent, though, is Billy Donovan on the chopping block? To what extent do you blow this up, if you do blow it up?
So I've asked that question privately before. I've asked that question in our group chat. Why is Billy Donovan not brought at fault more for what we've seen? I mean, these are 3 talented players. More than that, Caruso, talented player.
Yes.
Understand that Lonzo Ball got hurt and whatnot. But I mean, you have 4 parts of a starting 5 that should be competitive every year in the East, right? You have players like Kobe White, drafted high as a point guard, hasn't quite developed as a point guard. You've got Patrick Williams, hasn't developed the way you'd want to see him develop. So you have a roster of pieces that in a different scenario, I feel like all of them would be having better careers and collectively they would be bringing you better results. Why is it just, no, these players are the issue and it's not the coaching or the system isn't the issue?
I don't think I think Billy Donovan, because he had a team brittle with injury, he's getting some grace. I don't think that will last much longer. And I wouldn't be surprised in the midst of all of this fire sale that, Billy Donovan is also somebody that's being reconsidered as well. It's just, I think we do need a full blow up if we're going to do it. Just start from the ground up and really just try to lock in on as many draft picks. I think also another piece that's really hurt us, we've had to try to operate within the free agency and trade market because of not being able to draft. And that makes things very difficult itself, because when you would look to bring some other pieces in, another solid big man, another, true point guard to replace Alonzo Ball. Look, the fact that we're still holding on to Alonzo Ball is how I know that,
I don't to me, bro.
As a fan, the fact that he must have some photos in the vault of management and ownership's daughter doing some wilds, because I needed to know what Pappy Ball, all right? I need to know what Pappy Ball got in the mix with to be able to keep Lonzo on the roster still, because we honestly should have moved on from that money and looked to see what else we could have gotten in the market. It's just, it doesn't make sense to try to doctor this up anymore. It's one of those, if you have ever been cooking in the kitchen and you're like, honestly, it doesn't matter what I do to try to fix this dish, it's not happening. I got to start over.
Shout out to LeVar Ball for a mention 2 weeks in a row. Who
knew? Do we need to get him on the podcast?
Yo, LeVar know what he doing, man. Because this, I look. Did Penny even last that long being injured? Did Grant even last that long being injured? Like, for Alonzo to still be on our roster, like usually this is a time I say something. I'm saying, but come on, like you see what he did for the team.
He was MVP. I get it.
That's respect.
I get it. That gave him a lot of grace.
He did a lot. He did a lot.
Is he the youngest MVP?
Yes.
Yeah, youngest
MVP.
Youngest MVP.
And we had some solid playoff runs. You know what I mean? But nah, I don't know what it is, man. I do not know what it is, man. But shout out to LeVar Ball and whatever he has over our management. Because this is mind-blowing. And it's one of those, we've been holding on for too long. It's just like being in a relationship where you guys should have broke up a while ago, but you're still holding on. So
theoretically speaking, right, I agree with the take that Evans made. You really have some solid pieces. If you think about what Vooch, the work that he put in Orlando, if you think about DeMar in Toronto, and even in San Antonio, he was putting in work, right? And of course, Lavine, it goes without saying. I think it would be more advantageous for them to wait later in the season, up approaching the trade deadline, to blow it up, because that's when you're going to get the most for it. They have critical pieces that would literally change the landscape of either coast. Think about it. Think about any of the teams that are just one piece away. If they get any one of those three players, they're in contention.
Mm-hmm.
So
like the Clippers, they are one guy away.
Wow. Clippers shade throne.
Well, let me ask the pod. Let me ask the pod Mamba this. Let me ask you this.
What's good?
I know you don't want, we're talking Lavine. I know you don't want Lavine in LA. I don't want Lavine in New York. Why don't you want Lavine in LA?
Because Lavine's contract would require the Lakers to give up more than one piece or one player to make the contracts work, the money work. And including one of the players included has to be D'Angelo Russell, which I don't want to give up because D'Lo is the only other player on the Lakers team that's able to ball handle and distribute like LeBron. AR has shown us this year, and I know a lot of Lakers fans were clamoring about it during the offseason, how AR could handle the distribution and be the point guard for the Lakers. He has not looked like that. He is a great second ball handler, second shot creator, and second ball distributor. But he is not that primary guy. He's not a primary ball handler.
Not Caruso.
So if you're giving up D'Lo for Lavine, Lavine's not that guy either. Lavine's a shoot first player. He can create, but he's just like Austin Reeves. They're both the same type of player in that sense.
Whoa. Okay.
In creation, not the same player.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. That's it.
I mean, you're hearing me, but you're not listening to me, Lou.
Look, man, I have to give you some heat. Pun intended. But
but what I want to say is that giving up D'Lo and probably giving up Rui is just too much for me.
I don't think it happens without us including Caruso in that trade. Right?
Still,
I don't think there's any trade that happens with the Lakers that doesn't include Caruso.
But again, who's going to be the secondary ball handler on that team other than LeBron?
Caruso could do it.
No, he can't. He's not that guy. And I know because I've seen him play too. Like he was on the Lakers. So I know what Caruso can bring to the table. I want Caruso personally because he's a point of attack defender, which the Lakers need in the guard position. So I would do anything to get Caruso back.
What about Vooch?
He makes too much. How much money does he make? Like 13 mil? 12 mil?
I think a little more than that.
Yeah, I think he's a
contract.
I think it's like
so he's
14.
a contract issue for the Lakers.
See, I mean, unless I'm giving up like Jackson Hayes and Torian Prince, like a bunch of vet men people to make.
And also, I think you guys don't have, because I'm like Lou in the same vein of blow it up if you're gonna do it. If you keep it together, just to be 8th, 9th, blow it up. And I don't think the Lakers have anything to offer them that would help them in their future, right? In terms of rebuilding. Now, I do think of teams that could really benefit. I know Evan is a fan by product of being an Embiid fan. It's Philly. Some say that Philly may need just one more piece, even though they are balling now without Harden. But some think for them to compete against Boston, against the Bucks, that they still need one more piece. Does the Chicago Bulls, do they have anything that Philly might be interested in? Is Philly flirting with them? Are they sending texts like, hey, boo, hey, big head? You know,
I don't think Lavine works there. I don't think Lavine works there at all.
Who's a better player?
It doesn't have to be Lavine.
No, I agree with you, though. But I know in terms of like that being with a guy like Maxey on the team.
Who's a better player right now, Maxey or Lavine?
Lavine.
I agree.
Tough.
I agree.
That's tough.
Maxey is now Maxey now has done enough where we can expect him to take that jump. Now, this year is where I'm looking for him to show that he can make the jump of he's the guy. He's an all-star. He's tracking to be an all-star. Can Maxey be an all-star this year?
If I'm Philly, I'm giving up Tobias Harris and a bunch of first-round picks for Lavine.
So here's what I say on both of those. I'll give you general, then I'll come back to Maxey. For both Philly and for New York, Lavine doesn't give you what the team needs. Here's why. One, they need defense at that position. Lavine's not giving you the defense. Two, especially in the case of the Knicks and in the case of Philly, what they need more so is a closer. Lavine, for the amount of points that he's able to put up, he's not good in the clutch. He shoots below 42% in the definition of clutch baskets. He's performed poorly in the clutch throughout his entire career. So I don't want to say he's just empty stats, but they're not the most fulfilling stats.
I would argue. I'll ask you this, Evan.
That's the reason why. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Would you be willing? No, because you're right. The close is important. And I would venture to say the relationship of Lavine and DeRozan is similar to another team in the East prior to the season with Giannis and Middleton. Now, you can tell me in your rebuttal if you would think that Giannis also puts up empty stats without being the closer. But I'll leave it at that.
No, I get what you're saying. The defense part, though, is big as well, especially with the Knicks. If he's coming in and being a hole defensively, Tibbs isn't even going to play him. Tibbs isn't going to know what to do.
He played for Tibbs already.
But if they have Philly, right? Let's think about Philly. Philly just got some defensive players.
Rocco and all them.
From the
Zach
Clippers.
Lavine doesn't create either. So now when you're asking me Maxey versus Lavine, Maxey creates. Not only does he create, he's developing and he has great pick and roll chemistry with Joel Embiid. That's what with Harden what made Joel Embiid an MVP last year. That's what Maxey has picked up and has put the work in. Lavine, he's more of a ball stopper. He's not creating offense outside of himself. So Maxey is what Philly needs much more so than Lavine. As far as
I would disagree with you about the
Tobias,
creation part, though. I think he's a great, like in terms of from a true point guard perspective, but in terms of as a creator for himself, we seen last season where
creating for others. Creating for others.
Got it.
Kind of the same thing that Pop Mama is saying with the Lakers. You trade Lavine for Maxey, you've traded your point guard. Yeah. Now you don't have any creation offensively.
And,
that's true.
And I was looking up the numbers. You know, I know a lot for all the advanced stats people out there. Just looking at, because I know people want to say Lavine's a better player than D'Angelo. And I guess in a micro sense, yeah, he is. This season he's scoring 3-4 more points than D'Lo. D'Lo is averaging more assists, less turnovers than Lavine, and less usage rate percentage. Like it's just better all around for what the Lakers need. Not necessarily for who's the better player, but what the Lakers need, they need D'Angelo more than they need Lavine. And D'Lo's 3-point percentage is better than Lavine, at least for this season. You know, you want to talk about career, we can have a discussion about that. That's a whole different discussion. But Lakers need D'Angelo's playmaking, and he's just been playing great this year. He makes less money than Lavine. Then we have to start talking about the new CBA and how that affects team salary cap situation moving forward. So there's just a lot of things that I don't think Lavine, there's not enough pros with Lavine for the Lakers to outweigh the cons. So that's why I don't want him on the Lakers. By the way, I don't want to hear anything about Miami. So they keep on being situated with all these players out in the league, and you know, all these superstars are going to Miami. They're going to go team up with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, and then it comes to the
spin move.
Nothing happens. Nothing happens. We know what
there goes the Pod Mamba stealing my segue to Miami.
They get big old butt Kyle Lowry. That's what they get. That's the best thing.
Here's the sleeper though. Here's the sleeper.
Big old dump truck.
Toronto.
Oh my gosh.
I say Toronto, man. I'm just throwing it out there. Toronto. You get one of those pieces with Barnes, spin move Siakam. I'm just saying there could be something there. I'm just saying.
With Toronto, it would involve them giving up one of Siakam or Anunoby. Yeah, because they're not.
I'm about to say, I think
giving up Barnes. Well, I mean, listen, based on last year, OG Anunoby is worth 7 first-round picks now. I think that's what we're up to. So
7?
You know, the Bulls are gonna have to come with it to get OG Anunoby.
The Toronto Raptors GM made that one Kawhi Leonard trade, and all of a sudden he says that he holds on to his assets like as if they're all Michael Jordans. Like it doesn't even make sense. He makes one good trade, and all of a sudden he's considered like one of these like gurus. on GM. On GM practice. Like this guy's nonsense, man.
Well, all it takes is one ring to legitimize you for forever. Ask Doc Rivers.
He brought the franchise only ring. I mean, what more can you say? He did his job. It was under his watch.
Just like Ty Lue in his head coaching resume.
Or like Doc.
Got it though.
Or like Doc.
Cleveland. This is for you.
Ty Lue is a Doc Rivers light.
2.0. Doc 2.0.
He hangs on to that one championship for his whole career, and all of a sudden NBA media wants to consider him a top 5 NBA coach. Like, get out.
Well, I mean, when 2/3 of the league are
it took him 6 games to bench Russell Westbrook. Took him 6 games.
Here's your segue. Here's your segue, huh?
I'm about to say.
I was about to go right into it. So since we're talking about the rest of the league, let's just jump right into what we've seen for the rest of the week thus far, including the NBA Cup, and we'll start there. The Clippers finally narrowly got to win against the Rockets. I think that although it is celebrated, we still need to taper down our celebrations about this win. Granted, I'm happy that they got this win, but yet and still, it was by the skin of their teeth from a James Harden 3. But we'll give them credit. They did get the win. As our Pod Mamba alluded to, allegedly, and I say this allegedly because I know people on here have their own theories, Russell Westbrook came to the coaching staff and said, hey, put me on the bench. I'll come off the bench so that we can get better chemistry as a team. Bullshit. My opinion is they benched the wrong person. They need to have the testicular fortitude to say, all right, James, this was working before you. We had a flow going. We still want you here. Come off this bench. Be our Manu Ginobili. However you needed to sell it to him. You're still going to be closing the game out for us. You're still going to be on there in the fourth quarter. Come off this bench, okay? You get disgruntled, that's fine. It's the NBA. We'll send you somewhere else. You see, Zach Lavine's here. We can find something. We'll send you somewhere else. Come off this bench. Player. If you want to win, come off this bench right now. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see what happens. But that was just my take on it. What are you guys thinking on this great win that the Clippers got here with the James Harden 3? Is this the turning point for them? Is this the sign of something to come, of greatness to come, y'all?
Well,
I don't want to hear from you, Christian.
I think it's 2 turning points, and both of them, you could call them troubling. One, I think it's a turning point from the standpoint of they're going to continue moving closer to the system, as James Harden eloquently put it, playing the style of basketball that he wants to play, and is going to move them further away from a cohesive identity, which may get them some regular season wins, but ultimately they're going to fall short if that's where they end up moving towards. The other thing is Russell Westbrook moving to the bench. That's the first move he's making this season. I predict it won't be the last move.
Okay, hot take.
The pod mama doesn't want to hear about Miami, but I could see Zach Lavine and Russell Westbrook ending up in Miami by January, February time frame. So
Tyler Hero in the first.
Hey, listen, that's all it's going to take.
The untradeable Tyler Hero.
No, yeah. We're not trading Tyler Hero. That's what they say.
That's he's all in every trade discussion. So that's my take on the Clippers. I think they're on their way to a different type of dysfunction. But they decided to hand the keys over. James Harden is their point guard for better or for worse. And so if he's going to be your point guard, you're going to end up running it the way he wants to run it. So we're going to see more of these step back, dribble threes as the season progresses. We'll just see if they go in or not.
All right. I know we have to move on. I want to say this one thing about this, and then we'll move on to what's going on in the league. The James Harden system only works full throttle, meaning you either it's like the LeBron. It's just like the LeBron system. You either fully commit to that system, meaning tailor it to surround him with players that just augment his skills and cover up his deficiencies. If you don't fully commit to doing that, you're not going to win a championship. That's just my take on it.
Hans, are you saying 100%. That James Harden is the system? Is that what you're saying?
James Harden says he's the system. That's his new nickname. It's not the beard. It's the system now. That's what he's saying. He's the
Print
system.
The shirts.
Put it on the t-shirt. All right, y'all.
I'm about to say, let's move on from this guy.
Zion Williamson, he made headlines real quick, and it was real quick. But he said in a press after a game saying that he's trying real hard right now to buy in. He's trying hard to buy into the team, to try to buy into the system. Now, this has circulated all across social media and on the ESPN and other sport networks as him potentially signaling in coded language that he's not necessarily happy here, that this may not be a place for him. Now, granted, since then, B.I. has come back into the lineup, even though C.J. McCollum is still out with the collapsed lung. And they did win, but they lost one recently, but they're trending in the right direction. So he is kind of showing to be more upbeat and, in fact, looking like he's happy to be there. But we know that players and their personalities can be fickle, and that can change with a good 3-game losing streak. Thoughts to any of you guys on Zion saying that he has to buy in to a system?
So my first thought on it, and I'm looking at Lou laughing while I get into it, because that's Lou's guy right there. But my first thought on it was he must have found AD's Get Out of New Orleans playbook somewhere in the locker room and started reading through the pages and seeing what could I implement out of this. But
or called AD or just called him.
Or called him directly, right? What I think though is you have a team perspective, and then you have Zion's perspective. I think from the Pelicans' perspective, he hasn't been there. So they've had to make game plans based on who's consistently been there. And to an extent, they probably were challenging him coming into the season to prove himself through his availability and his play. So they probably started off with a more egalitarian game plan, so to speak. You got Brandon Ingram, who's good. You got CJ McCollum, who's good before he got hurt. You've got a roster of deep up-and-coming players. Trey Murphy, I know, is hurt. Herb Jones, before he got hurt. Dyson Daniels has been improving. I'm drawing a blank. Jordan Hawkins, I'm drawing a blank on him. But another player, rookie, who's looked good. So they've had a lot of mouths to feed. And so I think that's what New Orleans' approach has been. Zion's point, I think, has been, though, is I'm here now, and I'm the best you've got. So you should feed me. When he's been healthy, averaged 27 a game 2 years ago, 26 a game last year. He's down to 21.8 a game this year, albeit on the same number of shots. So I think that his disgruntlement has been, you're not getting me the ball in the way that I'm used to. I'm frustrated in that you're trying to do all these other things to appease everybody. I'm your franchise player, appease me. The concern is when you have this, it never ends well. And we've known this about this New Orleans story now going on 3 years. There is no happy ending to this story where everybody eventually gets on the same page and kumbaya and wins championships. Now, I'll give them this. After these comments, they bounced back with a win against Dallas. He had 19 in that game. Then he had 26 in the win against Denver. They had a very close Minnesota loss the night after that. Zion sat out of that one. I don't think he's playing back-to-backs right now, which goes back to that point of availability. But Zion has to realize he has to prove himself all the way in, and that can only be done on the court. And comments like this, even if there is justification, it won't help his cause. He's still looking good on the court to me, though. I just want to throw that out there before Lou bites my head off. Go for it, Lou.
Look, I'm not going to deny what he's been able to produce on the court, but you said it already. Two things that are major points. You haven't been here. So what they say when there are these commercials for settlements and so on, this is past results don't guarantee future success. It doesn't. We have to see it. There are guys who have been producing. And let's look at last year. He was already rubbing his teammates the wrong way when we saw CJ McCollum's his comments about availability. You're expecting the team to put you first when the team doesn't feel like you put them first. They're trying to build a culture in New Orleans. They already know they're a small market at that in the grand scheme. They brought some solid BI, and so like you ran the list. Of all these guys, man. They have solid players. They have a fairly deep bench. And there's a foundation for them to build something. So when you're talking about you trying to buy in, bro, they bought into you. You should be looking at how can I then contribute back to what they did in buying into me and giving them a return on their investment. Because at the end of the day, the return on this investment has come up short, especially when you take into account other guys who came in his same draft class. So the big thing about, with him and the team and so on, and him talking about, oh, I got to buy in, so on and so forth. I think that, that's his immaturity and him not looking at the bigger picture. So, like I said, when you look at him and you compare where he is now in his career compared to the other guys that he came in with, you have to look at, okay, have you really proven that we need to throw all our eggs in the Zion Williamson basket?
Speaking of his other draft class, I think we should just get into that. So, compared to his other Duke teammates, RJ, Cam, how is Zion doing? I know a couple episodes ago, I posed a question, whose career would you rather have? So given those three that I just threw out there, Cam, Zion, RJ, whose career would you rather have right now? Who's trending in the best direction?
I wonder where RJ plays or where Cam plays. I wonder if those teams have a perspective.
So I'm taking Zion all the way because he's gonna end up being a Hall of Famer either way.
Oh, sorry, okay. I know you're gonna have to edit that one. I'm sorry, that was loud.
I mean, you don't think he's gonna be a Hall of Famer? I think eventually, when his career ends, his stats will show enough.
You mean in 2 years when his career ends? You're right. That's all right. You're right.
I mean, he's not Greg Oden, so he's
all right. All right. Listen. Portland don't need to be catching any strays here. Okay. All right. We did nothing to you. You got your win, and these freaking LeBron stands just marveling. Oh, look at this masterpiece of art that he's doing it right now. LeBron's just giving us a showcase. It's against a shorthanded Blazers team. That's what you guys are lauding. You're lauding this king for doing this against a shorthanded team. Do it against Denver. Do it against some other teams. Do it against the Bucks. Do it against the Celtics, and then we'll see. You're lauding him for a team that's 3-6. Man, get out of here. Get out. That upsets me. Upsets me, y'all.
Talk that talk, Hans.
That's like me going and playing against some toddlers. Yeah, I dunked on some 6-year-olds. Man, get out of here. Do it against a solid team.
Don't play the victim card. You guys have dominated on your team.
Podcast headline: Hans compares the Portland Trailblazers to 6-year-olds and toddlers.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying, we're 3-6. We're 3-6. We're 36.
I knew he was about to say.
We're 36. Get out of here, man.
Ev, I want to hear where you think he falls with those three.
I'm still on the boat that Zion is going to be a great player, have a great career. He puts up the numbers still when he's on the court. I love RJ. I don't always love RJ.
I was about to say,
I knew it as soon as I said that. I felt the correction coming.
It's family business, right? It's family business, right?
Absolutely. I can talk about RJ. Y'all better not. But
I heard
he's come out. I mean, he's come out strong this year. RJ just shows you just enough each year for you to hold out hope. And
you like what I will say, healthy for 10 games? You're right.
What I will say is that he puts in the work. He's putting in the work in the off season.
Yeah.
The thing about Zion, his ceiling's definitely still the highest. A change of scenery could totally change his entire trajectory as a team. I will say that he's lost a little bit of his burst. He doesn't look quite as explosive as he did 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
That because of injury, though?
It could be. I don't know. It could be that as well. I know he says he's eating better. I'm not quite seeing it yet.
Something about these Duke and diets. I'm gonna talk to my wife about these Duke dining habits, man.
Zion is like 96 Charles Barkley. He just, he has the tools there, but he just can't keep the weight down.
Very, very good comparison. Very, very good comparison. And that's a lot what I see. Well, I see a lot of that Barkley rumbling through the lane and whatnot when I'm watching him play. So I think Zion has the highest ceiling. I came into the season very high on him. The comments were a little troubling to me. I'm trying to read into the context of it to see what it means from a big picture standpoint. But yeah, I think Zion still has the highest ceiling. But I like what RJ's doing. I like what RJ's putting together, and I hope he continues to transcend and improve for my Knicks.
I know we're supposed to wrap up. but I want to know Han's thoughts because I know you brought it up, but I know you be trying to hide. I want to know your thoughts.
Well, listen, man, we got to wrap up, but my thoughts, we gotta wrap up. We gotta wrap up. My thoughts are exactly as my brother, the birthday guy, Ev's thoughts. I think Zion does have the highest potential, but we know what potential is. It's a fancy word for ain't
not
doing
worth
ish.
much right now.
There you go, ain't doing ish. But I think RJ has the best resume right now. He's shown it. He's been out there. He's been available. He's been on the court. He's put it in the numbers. And that's what's tangible. Your best ability is your availability. That's all I got to say on that. But guys, we're going to end it on that note. We just had a great time here today, man. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the 3on3 podcast. I do want to shout out Evan's wife, Lucy Butler Sands. Thank you so much for allowing us to celebrate Ev. You guys can catch that on our overtime segment over on YouTube, but I want to shout her out for allowing us to really celebrate our brother Ev here. And also, she's a great supporter of the show. She listens, she comments, she interacts on our social media. So thank you again, Lucy, my sister. Appreciate it. Thank you. As always, guys, thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. What's up, guys? Thank you for listening to the 3on3 podcast. Please be sure to give the episode a thumbs up if you loved it. Hit that subscribe button, and last but not least, hit that bell so that way you're notified every time we drop a new episode. Hit us up on our social media, guys. You can find us at the 3on3 podcast on IG and Twitter. If you want to give us any ideas or suggestions, shoot us an email at the 3on3podcast@gmail.com. We appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. See you guys next time.